not prepared!
Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 5 guys. Today we're gonna check out what are the best performing decks after the latest patch. The meta hasn't changed too much from the last top 5, but still, we have several pretty good decks rising in power as well as popularity. So in this video, we will check what are 5 of the best performing decks as well as all of the other best performing archetypes for each individual class. If you find what I'm doing helpful, a like and a subscribe always helps, but also don't forget you can hire me for some Hearthstone coaching, and you can be sure I will do my best to make you a better Hearthstone player. You can also check me out live on Twitch while doing some of these coaching sessions, so you have a better idea of how you want to be piloting some of these best performing decks. Now let's check out the top 5. The first deck on the list is gonna be the new Aggro Druid, and it's doing really well right now. The deck is extremely cheap, and it costs less than a single legendary, and it consists of only commons and rares. 0 epics, 0 legendaries. Games are very fast with it, it's not hard to pilot, and is basically brain-dead aggro. What you want to be doing in the early turns with this deck is go wide on the board with your small minions, and after that you want to start buffing them out and finish the game around turn 5 and 6 usually. We have several good 1-drops in here, including Peasant, Trog, Vicious Slitter Spear, Druid of the Reef, and also Beaming Sidekick helps you buff your Peasant usually, but you can also use it on your Trog so you can make it even harder to deal with. This version also uses Claw Fury Adept, so you can have even more ways to buff your stuff. Jerry Rig is great here because it draws you separated living roots or separated soda soil. You have a couple of good nature spells in the likes of Mark of the Wild as well as Stormgrove Sentries. And your big boy buffs would be your Herald of Nature as well as Pride's Fury. We also have Planted Evidence in here, which can give you a lot of good random stuff, including things you actually don't run in the deck but can feel pretty good at certain moments. In order to look for the matchups as well as the mulligans, let's use the far more popular version that doesn't run the Claw Fury Adepts but opts for the Crooked Cook, which personally I kinda like more, but that was actually the one that wins more right now. Here's what the matchups look like: an Aggro Demon Hunter, Spooky and Big Spell Mage, most of the priests, Phylactery Warlock, as well as the Curse Imp Warlock and Just Curse Warlock, as well as several of the warriors will be pretty rough for you. But as you can see, everything else is pretty green, and given the fact how rare you're gonna be seeing some of these, it's not as bad as it looks. Mages are not as hard, especially if they don't high roll their freezes. But yeah, all around you should be able to climb easily. Mulligan-wise, going first and second, Herald of Nature is always gonna be a great keep. Depending on the matchup, you wanna be keeping some of your good 1-drops, definitely don't keep all of your 1-drops. You can also consider keeping your Thorngrove Sentries, especially if you already have your Herald of Nature, so you can have a nature spell for it. Living Root is not too bad as well. And when on the coin, here's what it looks like. Again, Herald is your best keep. Your good 1-drops depending on the matchup. Be careful keeping Peasant when going second against certain matchups, especially if you already don't have a Beaming Sidekick for it. Thorngrove Sentries is still pretty good, but the rest is pretty situational, so be careful with that. For other good Druid decks right now, we still have Ram Druid doing very well, and it's actually doing better in top 1000 Legend. But if you just want to be reaching Legend, Aggro Druid is definitely the way to go, because it's super cheap and super simple and fast. And the win rate is actually better from that rank. Prestor Druid still exists, but as you can see, the win rate is not amazing. On the number 2 spot, we still have Miracle Rogue, which is still a pretty good deck, and it can do a lot of crazy things very quickly. This variant runs 1 copy of Yoink instead of the old Sinister Strike, and it feels better this way because you can get stuff like 0 mana Hunter Hero Power, which is technically a better Sinister Strike, or you can get a 0 mana Warlock Hero Power to draw 2 extra cards for free, or even stuff like the Druid Hero Power doesn't feel that bad, so you have several good options to pick from. Other than that, the deck is basically the same thing from the last top 5, and you can also check out my coaching session with this deck so you have a better idea of what you want to be doing with it. We still have 2 Shroud of Concealments, which always draw you at least 1 good minion because we have only 2 Outpog Gnolls, Draka, Edwin, and the flop, Maestra. Edwin going down in cost makes him extremely valuable nowadays, and you get to draw a ton of cards and have him pretty big pretty early this way. For the matchups, let's use the far more popular version with Sinister Strike so you can have a better idea of what to expect. Control and Charge Warrior are not gonna be great for you, but you're never gonna see those. Mine Rogue is gonna be too fast for you sometimes. Pure and Holy Paladin can be too control-y. Most of the priests are not gonna be great, but everything else feels good. Mulligan-wise, going first, you want your Edwin, your Shroud of Concealment, your good tradables. The location is not horrible to keep, as well as Gnoll, but be careful because in some matchups you would rather have the Gnoll as a possible top deck, so you can actually have a better out for your Edwin, or just get it later for a bigger location or something. Same goes with Draka. Depending on the matchup, you might want to decide to keep her, or to just get her later on. If you're against the Freeze Mage, for instance, Draka is basically your win condition because your board is mostly gonna be frozen. When on the coin, again, Edwin, tradables, Graveyard, and Shroud are your best keeps. Gnoll and Draka as well, but again, be careful keeping too many minions as well as Shroud of Concealment, because at that point it might just be empty. Prep can be an okay keep if you have a good plan for it, especially if you already have Edwin, but the rest is situational. For other good rogue decks, we're gonna have to scroll a while till we stop seeing Miracle Rogues. Mine Rogue is still acceptable, but as you can see it's not doing amazing. We also have Thief Rogue, but as you can see it's not doing that hot. On the number 3 spot, we have Imp Warlock with Sardanafrius, Gigafin, and Kael'thas at the end. It's basically the same fast Imp Warlock core, but we also have one Starfish, so you can counterplay some freezing effects. And you also have a couple of Murloculas that you want to be having down to 0, so you can have something like Kael'thas, 0 Murlocula, and maybe Gigafin or Sardanafrius very early. We also have Dreadlich Tamsin in here for some card draw and board control, and the rest is the fast Imp Warlock core. Matchup wise, Aggro Demon Hunter, Aggro Druid, Spooky Mage, and Miracle Rogue will be troublesome for you, but all in all you should be fine. Mulligan wise, going first, this is what it looks like, and you want your good fast imps. And you could even consider keeping Imp King Rafam, and even Impending Catastrophe, especially if you already have something like Wicked Shipment. Mischievous Imp also makes a lot of sense if you're already curving into it, but the Vial Library is not as amazing of a keep anymore, because it doesn't give you the initial +1. When on the coin, it's pretty much similar, but the location becomes a little bit more keepable this way. Sardanafrius also might make some sense in certain matchups, so think twice before you throw him away. For other good Warlock decks, we still have the original Imp Warlock with Giants doing fine. There's also an Imp Curse Warlock that is actually doing great in top 1000 Legend, but Phylactery Warlock is not doing amazing, so you probably should be staying away from that one. Same goes for the big Curse Imp Warlocks as well. On the number 4 spot, we have good old Big Spell Mage, with the only new card included being Teotar, the Mad Duke. The deck is still amazingly strong, and you can still high roll a lot, especially with your Barbaric Sorceress, as well as with your 2 Rune of the Archmage and Darkfire Amulet. The plan remains the same: survive till turn 5, after that swap out with Barbaric Sorceress and start doing some random stuff. And you get to repeat that stuff with your Grey Sage Parrot. You actually also have the 2 locations as well, which are again new cards, and they're extremely good because you have more control tools, and they're not spells, so you got that going for you. Matchup wise, Quest Hunter is not gonna be great, as well as Murloc Shaman, but those are not too popular right now, so no wonder this is one of the best decks right now. Mulligan wise, going first and second, Belinda is always gonna be great, as well as your location, Farwatch Post, Amplified Snow Flurry, Mailbog Dancer and Barbaric Sorceress, Pelican Diver against aggro matchups, Akani can be decent, and also Deepwater Evoker so you can draw and get a ton of armor. On the coin it's pretty similar, and all of those cards are still your best keeps. You could consider something like Smothering Starfish if you're expecting some buff action going against you, and even Reckless Apprentice might make some sense, but be careful with that one. For Mage we also have the 40 Big Spell Mage, which is doing great, but it makes the win condition a little bit more diluted, and you have to be running a lot of suboptimal minions here. We also have Spooky Mage with the 30 variant doing great, as well as the 40 Spooky variant, which is my personal favorite. Plenty of variants of all of those archetypes, but Mech Mage is nowhere to be seen, and Secret Mage is just horrible in the current meta. And on the number 5 spot we have Quest Priest, which is farming all of the Miracle Rogues and Beast Druids right now, because those are very good matchups for it. This is the 40 card variant obviously, because this is very good for the Quest archetype, and we have new cards like the Lighted Burns, Sketchy Strangers, so you can possibly get a Mage Secret, which curves you out into your number 3 quest. The location is helping you with the card draw, and it's a nice way to buff. We have Teotar again, Clean the Scene can be pretty good, and that's about it for the new cards in this old archetype. Matchup wise, Demon Hunters are going to be horrible for you, as well as Ram Druid. Quest Hunter is not going to be your friend, Mage are not going to be great, Curse Warlock as well, but everything else is fine. And like I told you, Miracle Rogue is going to be a free win for you, as well as Aggro Druid basically, so you got that going for you, which is nice. Mulligan wise, here's what it looks like when going first. and it really depends on the matchup, but basically you want to be curving out your quest progression. And when on the coin, again, you gotta be careful what you keep against certain matchups, but all in all, curving out is never wrong. For other good priest decks, we have Naga Priest doing well, several iterations of the Quest Priest and the Naga Priest obviously, and we still have Boar Priest existing, but like always, the win rate is a lot lower than the actual power of this deck, and is very dependent on the skill level of the player piloting it. For the classes we didn't mention, starting off with Demon Hunter, we have Big Demon Hunter and Relic Demon Hunter actually doing well in the current meta, and the buffs actually helped it being an actual archetype again. Relic Demon Hunter seems to be the big winner so far, with several different iterations of the deck, including a 30 and a 40 variant. And we also have some Aggro Demon Hunter variants out there, which are sub 50%, but pretty close to it, so maybe with some training it's gonna be able to be climbing consistently. For Hunters, Quest Hunter is actually doing very strong, as well as the big Beast Hunter variant with the 40 cards. Just Face Hunter is still okay, and the old Beast Hunter archetype with the Naga package at the beginning is just shy of 50%, so it's still usable. For Paladins, not much has changed, and only Pure Paladin is seeing somewhat of a success, but everything else is kinda garbage so far. With Shamans, Evolve Shaman is actually the best performing archetype right now, but I think this is still basically most of these are just Control Murloc Shaman, rebranded as Evolve Shaman for some reason. So yeah, the nerf didn't really delete the archetype, but the win rate is far lower, and some of these decks are actually choosing not to be running Snowfall Guardians, which is kinda crazy honestly, but yeah, this is what the stats show. Murloc Shaman also still exists, but it's not doing that hot, and you also have straight up Evolve Shamans not doing that well at the bottom. And for Warrior, it's still not looking too hot, but there are variants of Enraged Warrior that are doing above 50% win rate, which is a lot better than what it used to be, so there's that. Quest Warrior is not exactly usable, same as Control Warrior. So that's gonna be it for this top 5 guys, hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing in the current meta. A like and subscribe would really help, and don't forget you can hire me for some Hearthstone coaching. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video, or stream.